Hi, I'm Sam, Flying Kite, and welcome to the horror show. This week, we're doing We Are Still Here. And honestly, I really like this movie. It came out in 2015. It's not rated, but if it was rated, it's probably rated R, but like it could be PG-13. It'd just be a very hard PG-13. Kind of similar to The Conjuring, except I guess if The Conjuring is PG-13 and that was a very hard one, then maybe this would just be rated R. Because there's like a lot more gore and whatnot in this movie, so yeah, probably rated R, if it was rated. It's a little less than an hour and a half. It was directed by Ted Geoghegan. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The budget is unknown, but it's almost certainly a low budget movie, and the box office was about 34K, so my assumption is either got back what he used to make or not as much as he used to make. Either way, this movie is a 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb, and that I find that a bit disturbing because I think this movie is a really good movie. But let me, keep going with this. The movie has actors like Andrew Sensenig, Barbara Crampton, Larry Fesserden, who's like a big horror name, Elise Mary, Monty Markham, Susan Gibney, Guy Gain. And let me tell you the story. After their teenage son is killed in a car crash, Paul and Anne move to the New England countryside to try to start a new life. But the grieving couple unknowingly becomes the prey of a family of vengeful spirits that reside in their new home. And before long, they discover that the seemingly peaceful town is hiding a terrifying dark secret. Now they must find a way to overcome their sorrow and fight back against both the living and the dead, as the malicious ghosts threaten to pull their souls and the soul of their lost son into hell with them. From the producers of The House of the Devil and Starry Eyes, We Are Still Here is a tense, frightening, and thoroughly haunting ghost story. In which I would say yes. I would say this movie is basically The Fog, but kinda smaller scale, in a sense. It is kind of similar scale, but in the same time, it's like, I would say smaller scale, because The Fog, it's like this thing happened 100 years ago, and now it's back, and it wants 6 souls as payment for what happened. But this movie, it's a bit different. I don't think I want to say what it is in this movie, because I think this is a movie that people should go and watch. I think you should go and watch this movie. It's on Tubi, or you could physically get it somewhere. I would say go and physically get it somewhere. I honestly love this poster of it. I think I had it really good the first time. I love this cover. I love this cover so much. But, on this release, which is the Dark Sky Films release, it has a commentary with the director and producer, and there's some behind the scenes. There's a trailer and teaser on it. The biggest thing would be the commentary, but I mean, that's just that. But this is like a DVD, so like I would imagine it shouldn't cost that much. So what do I like and not like about this movie, right? What's the best thing about this movie, in my opinion? The best thing about this movie is the story and the Lovecraftian nature behind it. That kind of being, there's no like tentacle monsters in this, right? But you could already kind of tell there's 2 aspects of this that make it seem Lovecraftian. One being, you kind of get the feeling that it takes place in, like, say, Lovecraft's world, because of references to certain towns and ideas in Lovecraft's world. So there's that. But then there's also what this thing in the house is. I guess I have to kind of explain it a little bit, and that's okay. Some time ago, this mortuary was built, which is the house that this movie takes place in. It was a mortuary in like the 1850s, and something happened to the town, like famine and a drought kind of thing, and so the town decided to basically sacrifice the family living there so that the rain could come back, kind of thing. And so the family never really leave. They're still there. We are still here. And every 30 years, the house wakes up wanting a new family to consume. And if there's no one to consume, then it will spread into the town. So just the idea that there's an evil, and it's, if not checked, it's going to spread and whatnot. But it's like, it's really interesting because it's like, sure, like the villain in this movie, at least for the most part, is the ghosts. But then it's like, well, there's also the town people, especially the main guy who's kind of leading the charge. The old head who's like, it needs a family. Like a worse version of the guy who was selling the Perron family the Conjuring house. In the real life story, anyway. He's like, the house needs a family. But he was a nice guy, though. He kept checking on him. This guy was like, it needs a family. In the sense of, like, But obviously he's not going to be like, you are the next sacrifice. My point being is that there's a lot of evils in life, and sometimes the evil can be supernatural, and maybe it is justified. But just because something bad happened doesn't mean you go and do more bad. It's just, it makes it easier to understand where they're coming from, why they're so angry, right? Because they were wronged a long time ago, and like they're trapped here, needing to effectively rewrite the wrong of sorts, which is a classic ghost story right there in of itself. So I like that. You kind of get a little bit of that in Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage. So it's kind of nice seeing that kind of thing, because you don't really see that kind of story that often. But at the same time, it's like you have movies like The Nun, where like it could have gone in that direction, but they decided not to. Which is like, that would have been really cool. It makes me want to be like, that would be a really cool story to make. That kind of story, and maybe it does escape out into the town and you witness that. But anyway, so that's the best thing I like about the movie, the story and the Lovecraftian nature. The worst thing about this movie is it's kind of a slow burn. It's an hour and a half, but it is still a little bit slow, especially the first half of the movie. And I feel like the ending is a bit rushed, which is like, it's kind of funny, those two things, because a slow burn, I don't know, it's just, the idea of slow burn and then a really kind of rushed ending is like, that's like, you kind of want that, but in the same time, I just feel like the movie maybe would have been a tad bit better, and I get, slow burn movie, but just because this movie's a slow burn doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It just means, if your attention span is messed up, then like you're gonna hate it, at least the first half of the movie. But ultimately though, I think the thing that makes this movie like, okay, it is really good, is that it's supposed to be a love letter to House by the Cemetery, which is a Lucio Fulci movie, a part of the Gates of Hell trilogy. There's The Beyond, City of the Living Dead, and then House by the Cemetery. This movie is supposed to be a love letter to House by the Cemetery, which I think is like, oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. It's pretty good. But anyway, I don't think there's that much to talk about. I mean, it's an interesting subplot about, let's say subplot, it's kind of the main plot, but in the same time, there's like two stories going on. It is interesting because the couple that moves there, they're an older couple, but they just lost their son. And parents aren't supposed to be burying their children. So that's kind of a sad, well, obviously it's not kind of, it is a sad thing. And it's something that does happen in life, and which really sucks whenever it does happen, but I suppose that's a part of life, unfortunately. But that makes this movie very interesting and compelling, because the wife in the movie is like, I feel our son here. The dad's kind of a skeptic and whatnot, because he's like, oh, okay, like, we moved out here for a reason. And when they have another couple come over that are kind of, you know, psychic-ish, whatever, and she's like, this house is unclean, it's evil everywhere, which, like, yeah, there is evil everywhere there. But, like, the son, you don't know if the son is really there or not until the very end. Then you do know if he is there or if not there. But it's a very interesting ending, because it makes you, it's a kind of, I guess you could kind of say it's a Tim Burton kind of ending. Oh, maybe a little more lighter, like a light Tim Burton ending, probably. But, anyway. I'm Sam, Flying Kite. This is past 10 minutes, and that's a problem. I just reviewed We Are Still Here, a classic ghost story that a lot of people may not know about, but very good ghost story nonetheless. And I will see y'all next week. Goodbye!